All right, everybody. Welcome. After the Ride podcast. Typically, we like to listen to the stuff after we ride, but you can listen to it before you ride. We're going to be talking about mastering the art of rainy day motorcycle riding. We have monsoon seasons down here in Tucson, so it's not going to be like a rainy day thing all the time. So it's easy to get out of practice, and you're going to have to get back into practice if you get caught out in the rain. First and foremost, I prefer not to ride in the rain, so I will go ahead and not do that. I'll drive my dad van, the Chrysler Pacifica, and call it a day, or just stay home because I also don't like cleaning my gear, and I also don't like dealing with all that stuff. Anyways, but we're going to talk about kind of like what you can do. So let's say you get caught out in the rain if you're down here, or if you have to ride all the time. It's also really important to understand these principles when it comes to anything kind of like gravel, anything like with a traction loss type of stuff. Write in the comments if you have any tips of your own, especially if you ride all the time in rain, because that's very important to hear that. And part of being a smart rider is teaching and mentoring. So teach me. Anyways, number one. Okay, we're going to give you the cliff notes real quick. So number one, modulate your speed and increase your following distance. Number two, ensure smooth inputs like braking, accelerating, and turning. Number three, avoid slippery surfaces, which is going to be kind of difficult when it comes to rain riding. But, like painted road markings and metal surfaces, like those big metal things that they put over road construction. Visibility is very important, so use your headlights and high visibility gear if you can. So if you get caught out in the rain, that might be a little bit difficult, but before you go out and it is raining, see if you have any. Watch out for oil buildup on the road, and that's typically within the first 30 minutes to an hour of riding. So let's go into it. So modulate your speed and increase your following distance. So the best way you could do that is just adjust your speed. So if let's say it's a speed limit's 45 and you could typically do 45, 55 on a road like that, you shouldn't be speeding. But on motorcycles, speed is a little bit more manageable than in like a regular car, unless you have like a performance car, sports car, or something like that. So adjusting your speed, so lowering it down is a great idea because you're going to be buying yourself more time, more options. Because think about it, your vision is going to be impaired because of the water droplets on your face shield. So going at a lower speed is going to kind of manage that risk that is now being presented. So go ahead and lower your speed just a little bit. I prefer to do 5 under or just at the speed limit instead of like doing 5 over like I typically do. Hopefully no cops are listening to this, but still, come on, 5 over is not a big deal. But so I'll just go the speed limit, or I'll just hang out in the right lane the whole time. That way I have escape paths on the shoulder. Maintain a safe distance. So you have to think about this. Okay. So if you have rain on the road and you have, let's say, bad tires, let's say you have good tires, screw it. You have good tires. You're going to have a little bit of a traction loss. It's not going to be dry on the ground. It's going to be slippery. It's going to be wet. It's a wet road. So applying the brakes, you're going to need a little bit more stopping distance. When it comes to a swerve, you're going to need a little bit more time to really make that swerve. And even acceleration, you don't want to just power through it because you're going to have that slippery stuff on that rear tire. We're going to talk a little bit more about in the second tip here. Enhancing reaction time. So when you have reduced speed, guess what? You bought yourself some time to have more reaction time. When you are maintaining a safe distance, guess what? You're buying yourself some more space to make better decisions with the time that you do have. So if a pedestrian stops out in the middle of the road, you can't see very well because of the visor and the shields and all that stuff getting all, watery. Being able to swerve and being able to move out of the way is really important. We got to move on. All right, number 2. Ensure smooth inputs, braking, accelerating, turning. So you need traction to do all those. So you need to have weight on a tire to do all of those. Now, yes, your motorcycle is kind of heavy and there's weight on those tires. Therefore, gravity and everything is staying on the ground. But there's a lot of power with the rear wheel. There's a lot of power with braking. You do need more weight. And so progressive braking when it comes to smooth braking is very important, even more so when it comes to riding in rain or gravel or anything like that. But we're talking about rain. So when you're riding in rain, you're going to want to definitely focus on getting that smooth transition and progressive braking. So you're applying a little bit of braking. You're getting weight transfer to that front tire. Now you can apply more and more and more. You can practice that in a parking lot when it's not raining, so you get the feel for it, so you understand. So when it comes to a situation in the rain, you know what to do. Gentle acceleration. You don't want to slam it. You don't want to go wide open because then that rear tire is going to slide on the ground. You want to do a smooth, progressive acceleration because you don't know, because typically if you're at a stoplight, you might have oil, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but you might have oil. And so when you accelerate super hard, it might slip from underneath you. Controlled turning. So same thing. You're going to need to have traction when you're turning left and right. So if you're in the mountains, you get caught in the rain. Just be aware that you should probably slow it down. Go back to adjusting your speed, slowing it down, and then making those turns nice and easy. The main goal when it's raining out, guys, is to really just make it home. Avoid slippery surfaces, painted road markings, and metal. So painted road markings, typically, I've heard from different places, different municipalities, different budgets, that some people or some municipalities, some cities, towns, whatever it is, that whoever's doing the streets, there you go. Sometimes they put in the granules into the paint to make it more like sandpaper, but a lot of people don't do that. So when you get onto that paint, it is wet and it's just going to be non-grippy. You're going to slip and slide on it. And if they painted the whole road with that paint, everyone's going to be all over the place. So when you add water to it, it's just going to slide. So when you're crossing over any painted lines, like if it's a slotted line and you're making a lane change, it can be slippery. If you're turning at a stoplight or stop sign or whatever, and there's painted lines, it can be slippery. So when we talked about turning, braking, accelerating, be very careful with those slippery painted lines. Okay, so be very careful with that. So like crosswalks, arrows, at intersections, just trying to avoid them. You can practice avoiding them when it's dry out, so that when it becomes wet out, it's just second nature to avoid painted lines. I just don't trust them myself. Metal surfaces like those manhole covers, those grates. Anybody here from the near farmland where you have cattle guards, those are kind of scary. Railroad tracks, those big metal plates that they put over like construction work, those will get wet and those will get slippery, right? Justin's motovlog. Super unsafe to accelerate, turn, or brake on those. So just try to avoid them as best you can. If you have to go over them smoothly, maybe even roll out the throttle gently when you're going over it, and then accelerate once you get off it. Just kind of coast over it, okay? So best thing you could do, like I said, is just to avoid it. So try to find the best path available. Go around it. Don't go over the arrow. Don't go over the metal. Just practice your positioning for safety by doing that. Okay, remember, plan your ride. Visibility is key when it comes to this. Okay, so your headlights should be on. I believe all motorcycles have an automatic always-on headlight, but you might want to use your high beams here and there. It's up to you. Because if it's low visibility for you, it's probably going to be low visibility for everyone else. So you want to get their attention through lights and then also not blending into the background. That's why you wear high visibility gear, okay? So use your high beams. If it's legal in your area, get some underglow. It all depends on your area and the local laws, state laws and everything. Typically, you can't have blue and red flashing lights like your emergency vehicle, but some states allow like amber lights. But it's up to you. This is kind of fun. I had them on my Harley. They were interesting. But at the end of the day, it's your goal to just avoid hitting people. So reflective gear is also a good thing you could do. High vis, maybe get like a high vis over jacket and put it on top of your motorcycle jacket, so you can just be high vis. It can help. It doesn't hurt at all, but it's kind of important. And some of those jackets are rainproof, so that's really good. So that way you're not losing your heat. So what's happening here is you have conduction, convection, evaporation, all these different things, and it's much easier to lose your heat when it's wet, and that's why your body evaporates the sweat off your body. So think of all that rain as just a torrential sweat that you got going on, and all the wind that you're creating basically by traveling through the air at 40 miles an hour is going to evaporate off your body, which will pull heat away from your body and make you start to shiver, which makes your inputs on your motorcycle bad. So it's very important to get some rainproof gear when it comes to that. Okay. So number 5, okay. Watch out for oil buildup on the road. Typically you're going to see that at intersections. You can kind of see that when you're just going down the street, but hopefully the streets are, I believe it's called crested. Not crested, but they're banked well. They're whatever, to where everything runs off to the sides of the roads. So if you think about it, you got oil in the middle of the lanes, and it's going to be sliding to the sides of the roads. So where would be the best position for safety? It's probably going to be closer to the middle of the road, so that when it does slide off, it's not sliding off towards you when you're deciding to be on the sides of the roads. So crowned roads. Thank you, Instructor Corey. So it's really important to get towards the middle of the road. as best you can. Obviously, don't ride in other people's lanes and everything like that, but be very wary of the middle of each lane because that's where the oil will come up. So what's happening here is when the water hits the ground and oil doesn't like to mix with water, the water goes to the bottom and the oil gets lifted up. It's a surfactant. And then it starts to slide with the water off the road. Well, guess what? When you ride over that watery / oil, well, your tire gets to touch it and then it gets to put on the road and then it just slides. So the goal is to not hit any of that. And you see a lot of it at intersections. So park off to the sides of the middle. So there's like a left, center, right. I like to park off on the left. If that makes sense at intersections. So you will have reduced traction and it's going to cause you to have to scan ahead. So you're going to have to scan ahead pretty well. And it's going to be difficult with the raindrops on your face shield. And if it sounds like I am really talking about not riding out in the rain, it's because I don't like to. Some people love it. But for me, I have a kind of a negative bias when it comes to riding out in the rain because there's just so many different factors when it comes to having a possible crash or close call. Not just because your skills are not there, it's because other people and their skills are not there. So it's really important to do absolutely everything possible not to crash and have a close call. And that's why we have the MTC awareness stages. That's why we have our plan method that we talk about. We wear full gear, Smart Rider principles. And the best way you can become a Smart Rider is joining the MTC Rider Academy and taking the basic Smart Rider course. We talk about so much of this stuff, but I'm just trying to add more and more and more to your skill set, more tools in your tool belt. Just give you the awareness. But once again, write in the comments if you ride in rain and you have some really cool tips and tricks that you've picked up through your experiences, maybe experiences from friends, and share with the class. But with that said, hope you guys ride safe, be safe, and I'll be seeing you guys later.